The Rifleman comes in many variants. There's a lot of variants, and it's one of the original mechs of Battletech. And it is generally a long range, either with large lasers or autocannon 5s. That also means that's one of the original mechs of Battletech. It comes with its own Nova Combat book. These, you basically give the book to the other player. And they give you their book. And then you have like a cockpit's view fight against the other person's mech, using a variety of rules for tracking heat and damage. However, it is interesting that it's deterministic, and the outcome of the battle is made based on your choices and the level and the stats of your mech, and not through dice rolling. And it has like a stat card and a pilot card for various comments and skills and things like that. And it's gotten like rules for leveling up and multiple 2-on-1 engagements. Even you could like play a campaign in theory just using these Nova Combat books. Though I don't know if anyone's ever actually tried it, but you could. So here, let's pick up our copy of the original 3025 TRO. And you can see this was the first TRO that came out, so it has a lot of the oldest mechs in it. Some of the originals and some of the original artwork, which came from various anime shows. And here it is, the 60-ton section. See this? That's the classic unseen Rifleman. Its primary features are long-range firepower and exceptionally thin rear armor. In all the books, too, the pilots complain about its paper-thin rear armor, including in the Warrior series of books. However, its arms can be made reversible because there's no lower arm actuator, and that's actually a trick that's used in the Warrior series books, that the mech walks backwards with its front armor in the back, so the opponent is fooled into thinking that it's weak back armor. Then when the clans were invented, then came out the TRO 3050, and the Rifleman got a slight upgrade. This one, I think, is the 5M version in here. Let's find out as we flip to it here. And you can see here, these are mechs that you'll recognize. These are just some moderate upgrades from the original. And here, it should be here. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's the 5M, which is the Merrick version. The biggest change, other than upgraded weapons to 3050 era weapons, are the rear armor has been significantly thickened, so at least it can take a shot with some moderate sized weapon. Okay, next up, let's look at the 3C. This one has AC-10s instead of AC-5, so more punch but less range. Then comes the Davion version, which is pure energy with PPCs and large lasers, but still no advanced tech. It's still a 3025 compatible mech. So in the 3050 era, it gets an upgrade with ER PPCs. And here's another 3050-ish upgrade with LBXs. This is a Rifleman 2C clan tech with large pulse lasers. Another version with active probe and ER small lasers. So again, the clan tech versions I don't really consider real Riflemen anymore because those are the 2C chassis, so it's actually a separate, different mech. Now there's actually so many variants, inner sphere variants of the Rifleman, that I'm not going to talk through all of them, but I have implemented a large number of them in simulations, and now I'm going to show you what you get from round-robin sims of these variants. So how well do these different Rifleman variants actually do? So at the top we have the RFL 3N, which is the standard Rifleman. Wins 42% of its battles, loses 36%, ties 21%, so not too shabby. A few variants of note: RFL 1N is the original prototype for Star League. It's only a 50-ton mech. The RFL 2N is the production model for the first Star League versions. Then there's these other variant here, Comstar versions, the 5s. Basically, the larger the number, the later on in the eras it generally is. So these are like these 8s and 9s, 7s, 8s, and 9s are in the 3060, 3070, 3080 era, whereas the 5s are the 3050 era, and the 3s are the 3025 era, and the 1s are the 2750-ish era. There's two also special variants here. This is the Personal Rifleman of Janos Merrick. I'm calling this the RFL JM. And there's also the Personal Rifleman of a Solaris hero. And this is the Legend Killer mech. If you've read the Warrior series, you recognize this mech. This is also the one that Justin Allard, or Justin Chang Allard, depending on what you want to name him, also piloted at one point to get his revenge on one of his opponents in the arena. So anyway, start. It also happens to be the mech that mangled his hand too in a previous battle when he fought against the Legend Killer before he inherited the mech. So the first part, so the win rate can be very low, like for the 60, and the highest win rates, actually 56% for the RFL 2N is a pretty good win rate, and also the RFL C3. These are some Clan Tech type refits, but without upgrading to the RFL 2C. These are Clan Tech refits of the original chassis of various levels, without actually going to the new chassis, which was Clan specific Rifleman 2s. These are still Rifleman 1s with Clan Tech. Now, again, two of these designs are 50-ton. You can see the weapons profiles here. Armor fractions. The battle values: 931, the RFL 1N. That's the lowest battle value. Highest battle value is almost 1800 for the RFL 8X, and also the 8D is very close. So very high battle values. So you can get a factor of 2 in battle value range from 900 all the way up to 1800 for a single mech. It's a long distance DPS support, so the speed factors tend to be low, except for this one. Actually, there's a 2150, which is the RFL, but that's Clan Tech, so it doesn't count. It has a high speed factor, so it's a really heavy DPS oriented actual damage, not just speed based battle value. So wins per battle value. The original is pretty good, but if you look at the highest ones, the RFL 2N, also the RFL 5M. However, this is a 3650 era mech, and the other ones down here are relatively low performance for battle value, but there is a slight uptick up here for the RFL 7N2. That's a very high-tech Rifleman though. So, but that's a local high in the battle value efficiency. It also has a very high wins per kiloton, 11 wins per kiloton. Whereas over here, it's the RFL 2N is also 11 wins per kiloton, whereas the original is only 7 wins. So if you're playing for tonnage, go for the 2N. If you're in the 2750 to 3025 era, if you're doing the 3060, 3070, those eras, then you might go for the 7N2. Now, for C-bills, you want this one, which is the RFL 1N. It's cheap, also has primitive technology in it. The 2N is also pretty good too. It's actually better. So the 2N, which is the production version, that's the best per C-bill. If you go to these high-tech ones, they do terrible per C-bill because they've got these XL engines usually, and those kind of ruin the performance because it doesn't justify the increase in the wins for how much you spend on the engine, except for the RFL C3, which is a clan refit, but that it might not have a XL engine or something that might make it cheaper. So those are the local highs. So the 2N is really good if you're playing for battle value or C-bills. The original is okay for C-bills, not that great, but its battle value wins is also okay. So it's just, if you're a purist, it goes for the 3N, but if you want to really get your combat performance up for how much you pay for the mech, either C-bills or battle value, you might consider the 2N. It's also only 50 tons, so remember that also is a lower tonnage. The range performance of the various designs here, you can see these higher tech versions tend to have extended range weapons, so they have a longer range, and the earlier tech, of course, has shorter range. And that covers our standard Rifleman variants. And an interesting thing I noticed was that the Clan Tech refits did not necessarily help a lot of the advanced tech mechs, and that's because the heat sinks are very limited. They couldn't fit all the stuff, so they tend to be under heat sunk. I did not go over the Rifleman 2C and its variants intentionally because it just makes this too long. This is already very long, and also I've got to do a special variant here that's a RFL, a standard Rifleman, but a viewer's mod. But it's basically the Keegan Knife Fighter variant. So I'm calling this the Keeg 04. This one is a fan-made variant. Also, he's an author of some books, Battletech books. And this is the variant that's in his books. And it's a 60-ton. It is a short range, medium laser range mech. It does incredible firepower at medium range or medium laser range, as you can see compared to these other things here. But it has a weakness in that it can't handle long range engagements. It's also 1200 battle value, which is on the lower end, but not super low on the standard Rifleman battle value scale. Its wins per battle value is moderate, its wins per ton is moderate, and its wins per C-bill is also moderate, based on C-bills that I calculated. He didn't provide C-bill or battle value for it, so I calculated those myself. It may be different from what he thinks or calculates it to be, but based on my calculations, those were for its C-bills and whatnot. That is also the mech that I will show as the in the fight against the warrior helicopters, and that will be in another video where I'll show the actual battle and the individual shots and the damages done, etc. Now you will also notice that I have been adding more and more mechs to my round robin. So when it says that we've got 728 trials, it means that there's 364 designs that it's fighting against. And it's not just fighting against Rifleman variants, it's fighting against every mech in my database, including groups of mechs, which can include 12k battle value of Wolf clan mechs, all the way down to a single squad of Flamer infantry and everything in between. Currently, there are 180 Inner Sphere mechs from the Locust all the way to the King Crab, including 2750, 3025, 3050, and up to some 3075 era mechs. There are also roughly 40 clan mechs, starting from the Fire Moth and ending in the Dire Wolf B, and several variants in between as well. Mostly on the heavier mechs, there's more variants. There are also a total of roughly 60 vehicles, including various variants. So far, only the Warrior has many variants in the database. The other vehicles are all just single, the standard one, like Savannah Master all the way to the Behemoth. These are the 3026 variants other than the Warrior. Then for infantry, I have the LRM jump platoon, SRM jump platoon, rifle jump platoon, laser jump platoon, flamer jump platoon, as well as the non-jump versions of those, and a mechanized wheel, track, and hover of the SRM and LRM platoons, and then squads for each one of those 5 types. Then for multi-unit combinations, I have roughly 100 combinations, actually a little less than that. But all the way from just 2 LRM jump platoons out to, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 LRM jump platoons, some groups of warriors, and then out to battle groups of 2K, 4K, 8K battle value, 12K battle value, one for each faction at least, plus a clan faction or 2, plus several of the companies that have the original vintage books, like Fox's Teeth, Black Widow Company, Cranston Snort's Irregulars, Grey Death Legion, Rolling Thunder, and then one that I made up for Northwind Highlanders based on the some picks from Starleague era mechs. This means you can't compare the wins from my previous sims with fewer mechs directly right now against these win rates, because they will have been altered by the fact that I've increased the size of the database. So I will have to do a master calculation at the end after I've finished adding variants, where all of these will be going against a fixed set number of variants, and then we can calculate which mechs are better. For now, we can just compare variants against each other so you get a good idea of what variant of Rifleman or Griffin or Shadowhawk or whatever else you want you think will be best. Other than that, just pick the mech you want and then just go through here and look at the variants and see which one's the best for you.